As of yesterday, the blossoms are 40% in bloom, and this upcoming weekend, they are expected to peak. Now, the good news is that we're not expecting any big wind events over the next couple of days, so that's good news. The blooms only last a couple of weeks. That's what part of makes them so special. In Japan, the cherry blossoms have a larger meaning, reminding those who admire them that life is short and to enjoy it. Now, you probably heard of the cherry blossoms at the UW Quad, where there are about 30 trees, but it's not the only place where you can find these spring flowers. Not too far from the UW is the Washington Park Arboretum, boasting about 230 acres of not only cherry blossoms, but many other trees and plants found nowhere else in the Pacific Northwest. Up next is Point Defiance Park, just outside of downtown Tacoma. This place is nice any time of year. And by the way, we did a been there and done that here at Point Defiance Park just a couple of years ago. And finally, a little bit off the beaten path is Cougar Mountain Regional Wildland Park. Over 3,000 acres and 36 miles of hiking trails. It's here where you'll find other plants blooming, as well as trillium and salmon berries. And it's not only cherry blossom season, it's also daffodil season as well. And by the way, guys, tulip season is not too far away.